Playing with IBS has always been a struggle of mine. But I'm not alone. Thousands of Battlefield players just like me suffer from irritable blueberry syndrome. But there is hope.
Hardcore League is a major advancement in the treatment of irritable blueberry syndrome and reduces the likelihood of encountering PTFO inhibitors. When compared to other PTFO therapies, Hardcore League has been proven to help players live significantly longer without IBS flare-ups or growth.
Hardcore League changed what I thought was possible for IBS treatment.
Ask your doctor about once daily Hardcore League and visit hardcoreleague.co for more information. Hardcore League may cause serious side effects, including
They're going to be dedicated just on the air combat side of things. Looking forward to Battlefield 5. Fair play, absolutely outstanding. Oh my days! Oh my goodness, and he gets the two-piece, ladies and gentlemen.
Oh, and there it is right there. We're moving to the top.
Oh, getting an awesome kill on Marcelo there. That was on point.
And that right there is how you dogfight, ladies and gentlemen. What a play.
Hello guys, and welcome to episode 1.9 of Shots Fired Podcasting with myself, KLW, HitmanPike, Battlefield Esports Shoutcaster, with the one, the only, the Hardcore League. Joining me this evening, guys, we've got DXMimzy, the gentleman himself behind those awesome graphics that you see all too often on Twitter, Facebook, and all the other various social medias. And of course, tonight, guys, we have our special guest representing the Phoenix Elite Network. These guys, wow, they have been with us since the beginning, and I'm just so excited to introduce you guys to Sheep, who will be having a discussion with ourselves tonight. Sheep, how the devil are you today, sir?
Oh, I'm just fantastic.
Just give me a second.
No, it's all right. You sound fantastic, being cheap, doing.
Oh, I'm just absolutely fantastic.
Yes, thank you so much for stopping by, my dude. It really is appreciated. We have also got Mr. DXMimzy. Mims, how are you this evening?
I'm doing all right. HitmanPike, how about you?
I'm very well. Obviously, it's been a busy couple of weeks with it being Christmas. We've also had a lot going on with the Hardcore League. It's a little bit hard to get those events going at the moment just because we're struggling without the RSP, but we'll be getting into that a little bit later in the podcast. But no, I mean, wow, what a fantastic couple of weeks we've had with Grand Competition. We had the PS4 fixture last weekend and the Xbox fixture the weekend before that. And they both went incredibly well. Great numbers all round. Really exciting to see. So I was just really blown away with the passion that we saw from the teams out there. I shoutcasted the Xbox event, and it really was. We caught some incredible oh my days moments. Did you manage to catch it at all, Sheep? You were in it, weren't you, if I'm not mistaken?
No, I wasn't. I don't think. I did pop in a couple of times and see how everything was going.
It was it was an absolutely incredible battle. We saw some pretty amazing gameplay from all the various teams out there, including Apex. I was covering one of the Apex guys at one stage. They were on Charlie objective on Narvik. And it was just an incredible assault. These guys just came in. They pincered the flag from opposite directions, which, again, Narvik as a map lends itself to those kind of pincer movements where you can hit the objective from opposite directions. And they just completely overwhelmed the defenders on this objective, only to have a bomber come in and completely decimate them. It was just incredible. It was just, oh my days. I lost myself for a few minutes. I think I clipped it. I think we'll be seeing that one as one of our regular clips. Did you happen to catch that moment, Mims?
I don't think I've seen that clip. I think the latest clip I've seen was the recent top 5, and I've seen those, but I don't think I've seen the newer ones yet. I have been keeping my eye up for it. Whenever that goes up, I will be sure to take a look into that because I love those clips. All of it is an oh my days moment. I just love every bit of it.
Yeah, definitely. We really have our moments here at the Hardcore League during some of our matches and events, and it's down to the shoutcasters to really capture the energy going on within the match. Because at some stages, obviously you see the game going on, but what we don't see is the communication behind the scenes. What's going on within those squads, and I would imagine. Being an ex-competitive player myself, back in the day, the communication had to be so on point. It had to be succinct. You didn't want to be calling out the wrong stuff. You basically had to keep, be filtering yourself throughout the match to avoid, overuse of comms. And that's something that we're hoping to pick up because we're going to be bringing in our player cameras over the next few months, and that's going to be concentrating on the squad side of things. And we're actually going to be capturing the in-game communications of what is going on within those teams and within those squads to see how they arrive at their conclusions on how they approach things. We've got Southern Chick dropping into the chat. What is going on, Southern Chick? Thank you very much for stopping by. We had a few audio issues at the beginning, but thankfully they have managed to rectify themselves. So we're going to be kicking things off and stabbing away at some awesome discussion related to some Battlefield esports. We're going to be showcasing the all too amazing, the mighty Phoenix Elite Network. We have Mr. Sheep with us at the moment, and he's going to be telling us a little bit about what Penn has got going on at the moment. So without further ado, I think we're going to hand things over to Mimzy for a little bit, who's got some questions, I believe, for Sheep. Mimzy, take it away, my dude.
Oh, thank you very much, HitmanPike. Penn Sheep, I know that I've been around in the Hardcore League for just about a couple of months myself, actually, and went up the ladder per se. I'm also a team captain as well for Syndicate for the just 2 months that I've been with them, and also with the HL staff as well. But I guess I could say I could feel uh in the same way of the hard work and the passion we can put into the game and put into the league itself. And so my first question would be is like, tell us a little about yourself. Tell us about how you started into the league and just how you started gaming in general.
Well, I started gaming when I was like 8 years old, just playing stupid games with friends. And when I was 12, me and a friend of mine got recruited into Teamwork Defined, Mason and Deadeye's old clan. And through that, we worked up. I worked my way to the highest point you could get under management. And at the time, I had god awful internet. Like, I think I had 0.45 megs on a good day. And still playing competitively, still enjoying every moment of it. And I decided to take a little hiatus. So for a couple of months, I just went and played games on my computer. And when I came back, unfortunately, Mason and Deadeye had went to go work full time for the Hardcore League and no longer were leading TWD. And it kind of fell apart after that. I ended up being the highest ranking member, so I got like de facto leader after a while. And then Phoenix Elite Network at the time, which was ran by Bosch, recruited me and the rest of TWD to come into Penn. And from there, I guess it all kind of took off.
Oh yeah, that sounds great. For how a lot of the gamers today just a lot of people I don't think understand like actually everything that goes on as far as gaming with esports and stuff. Like there's a lot of people that I know who don't know about these type of organizations and stuff, organizations that we're all a part of. And I'll ask like, "Hey, do you know about the Hardcore League?" They're like, no, I don't think I've ever heard of that." And so it's just great that we started in the same place as those people started. And to think that we are who we are now, and then they could possibly as well. It's always great to get the word out. For the next question, so how do you enjoy your time with Penn? And what are possibly some goals with Penn for the future Battlefield esports?
I mean, my time with Penn has always been great. From coming in as a buck private, working my way up to owner and competitive team leader. Uh, it it's just always been a great community, and it's especially after we took ownership of it, we definitely focused on having the moral high ground for most stuff. Even if we didn't have a good player, we had somebody who you wanted to play with. They weren't cocky. They weren't annoying to play with. Like we don't care if they have no skill, because you can teach skill. You can't really teach someone to be a decent person.
Oh yeah, that's great advice. Great advice
I
right there. Go
I
ahead,
think you
man.
touched on a great point there. One thing that I like to see with it, and one thing that we see all too often on a regular basis within the Battlefield community, is that team spirit and people bringing things together. I don't like people to see people pushing things apart. We do have the odd player out there or the odd team out there that perhaps their ego is a little bit too high, and you kind of fancy like hashtagging them stay humble. Because at the end of the day, I've seen so many teams who have been top of the run, and then a new team's come along and just smash them out of the water. And aside from that, it's just good to just be sound with people. And generally speaking, the Battlefield community is absolutely amazing for that. Best community in the world, it has to be said. But no, you're absolutely right. Stay humble, appreciate the guys. From a rounded context, Battlefield esports isn't just about heavy hitters. It isn't just about getting those kill-death ratios. There's so much more. You need to have that squad backing you up, because right now out there, there'll be loads of squads who have got heavy hitters, but whether they've got a decent medic backing them up, whether they've got a decent assault, have they got someone passing them that ammunition to keep them running, which now in Battlefield 5 is so much more important. So, that rounded squad has never been more necessary. And yeah, you've got to spread out your high kill death ratio players, and not make sure that you've got that good sort of mix when you're structuring your teams.
Oh yeah, of course. The thing I've been also another thing about the whole aspect of it is that, of course, we've been going over the moral subjects of what would be great for the type of community that we can build on, but for also with the esports side of Battlefield, to talk about kind of what we're expecting with it is that we're if when you watch like a lot of these championship matches with CS:GO, Call of Duty, Halo, you don't those players may be up there in the booth, but when you're in the booth with them and you actually kind of hear the communication, it's not it's not as crazy if you get those who are very cocky, they're all working together. They all understand there's something bigger on the line. And we are hoping to push for things like that, the teamwork, the spirituality, the for players to kind of know and become hand in hand in combat to understand each other instead of we now obviously don't get me wrong, there is a community. We also have a casual community for hardcore league, so anyone who is a casual for the hardcore league, by all means, feel free to stop in to our website at hardcoreleague.co, and we also have the new team portal if you would like to ever sign up as a free agent for any one of the teams, such as uh, Phoenix Elite Network. And there are plenty of other teams. I believe about 150 plus verified teams, as far as I've seen the statistics, with 4,000 and growing, more than 4,000 and growing members of the Hardcore League. So we do encourage even the casuals to stop in and be a part of what we're doing here. So Penn Sheep, a few more questions that I would like to ask to kind of talk about more about the esports aspect. Now that I've kind of brought that up, is that what is your thoughts about the future of Battlefield Esports and presenting it to everyone in the world?
I mean, for me, I always want to see it get up there. I want it to be up there with League. I want it to be up there with Dota, but I know it's going to take time. And through my short career in competitive of about the past 3 years, really, it's made amazing strides from just being absolutely nothing, ran by Call of Duty uh, like groups that were hosting tournaments in Battlefield, trying to make it Call of Duty. Uh, that it's grown a lot and has become extremely respectable. I mean, enough that I even put my name next to it.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, I understand what you mean. I've actually been in some other leagues myself. That when I first started, and then we switched over to the hardcore league, and I'm very excited where they keep to their motto, their forum of play the game like it was meant to be played. I love that because I feel like every game should be played like it was meant to be played. And that a lot of people I feel kind of mistaken skill versus strategy when it actually it takes skill to strategize. I feel it goes hand in hand actually. So the whole thing with play the game like it is like a big quote to me. For the next question I would like to ask is, in your thoughts, being that where would you like to see Battlefield get to? What do you think about the competitive BF community, such as the Hardcore League, or maybe in general? What are your thoughts of the community that's happening now?
I think we're definitely uh, growing in the right direction, but I'm seeing a very dangerous thing starting to happen where people are splitting on hardcore, core, this league, that league. We gotta, and I think in the end, we all need to remember we can't infight. I mean, we can have different opinions, but we can't infight. We have to push the competitive community, no matter who's it's with, what it's doing, into the spotlight. We can't be fighting amongst ourselves, or we'll never make it there.
I could not agree more with you. I think you've just touched on a very valid subject, guys, and I hope you're listening, everyone out there. If we want Battlefield esports to be a thing, it's going to be a thing. It's going to be the whole thing. It's not just going to be hardcore. It's not just going to be core. It's not just going to be small. It's not just going to be large. We are going to be catering for everything here at the Hardcore League because at the end of the day, we want to encompass every Battlefield player out there because we appreciate, it's such a varied community. It's such a fluid and dynamic community. There's so many aspects to this game, and that's the awesome thing about it. Is you can really explore this game in depth. With the various game modes out there. So please, guys, we need to really present this united front. We need to be one as all the different leagues, all the different game modes, all the different sort of hardcore core levels of the game. At the end of the day, if you want Battlefield esports, then this is the way to approach it. So yeah, and I think well, pretty much all the time from what I've seen, the community seems to demonstrate that. I think we're pretty much past the whole core hardcore aspect now, and people are just happy to let people play based on what they want to play, and to have that level of flexibility. No one says you have to play the game a certain way, and we want the game to be played the way the game was designed. So as long as you're doing that, Hardcore League will facilitate it.
Oh yeah, of course. And see, my whole view of it all is that I'm been kind of just hearing here and there about things about possible other leagues coming forward. And I'm thinking like to myself, for the Battlefield scene, that of course it's not like, well, I did say earlier that the hardcore league is not known to quite a few random type people, but the people who do make other leagues do have knowledge of the hardcore league and that what we're rooting for and what we're pulling for. And and that's the biggest thing I believe is our weakness right now, is that because someone is not happy with where a league or where a community or any type of group is at, they decide to go and do it and branch off on their own, and then they try to succeed on their own, and then they get they may get the handful of people with them when there's an entire league that is willing to hear them out, to hear their opinion, to take in their feedback and input of any type of changes that possibly need to be made or could be made. It'll go over. It's not like it goes over just 2 or 3 of staff. It goes over almost the entire HL staff in question of certain issues. So by all means, I encourage a lot of people that, as staff members of the Hardcore League, for any of those watching and everything, that we hear you. We love you guys. We hear you, and we want to do what's best for the league, as far as the staff goes and everything, and as far as the future of esports itself. So I encourage everyone to, with all the different opinions, different thoughts of how leagues should be performed, we encourage you to put that feedback in. Let us know. That way we can think about it and go over what is said, and how we can perform better, not only just for us or the league or things in general, but for you guys as the players, the teams, the people who are actually playing these matches, who are winning the big prizes and all this stuff. That's what you guys are really for, is the competition. You want it to be solid and golden. So to move on with some more of the questions for Sheep. So Sheep, of course, here lately, there's been a lot of talk and a lot of agenda with RSP. And that's also something that we would love to talk about here in the next half of this podcast. Is RSP as of right now is blowing up with people trying to push it out on Twitter, on Facebook, on all forms of social media, and we haven't gotten we haven't really gotten really much of any type of info about RSP, what they're doing with it. They're it's like Hitman said a lot, they're keeping their cards to their chest. And it's like being at a poker table waiting on the person who's keeping the cards to the chest for days on end to finally play their card. And then at the end of the day, you finally get frustrated and you just want to get up and leave. And that's that's how it is when you're playing actual cards. So I mean, you got to start thinking about things like that. So what my next question would really be is, what would you like to see in Battlefield Rental Program RSP?
Well, I mean, of course, as a team leader and involved in esports, I want to see it as soon as possible. But I also know that when it comes from DICE perspective, they cannot mess this up. After previous things in Battlefield 5 and previous Battlefield games, they've got to do it right. So I know that takes time, and I'm willing to wait that time. And I'd rather wait longer for something good than get something bad.
That's true, actually. I mean, look at the release of Battlefield 5. We saw a month's delay there, and that just goes to show how DICE is really dedicated to making sure that this end product is just absolutely fantastic. I think one area that definitely DICE could address is just their communication. Perhaps, DXMimzy's mentioned it just there. It's like being stuck at a poker table, a never-ending game of poker, and you're waiting for the next player to play his hand. It would just be good for them. It's like with real news. If an event happens and there's a news blackout on it, people start making up conspiracy theories. They start, clutching for straws and just basically making stuff up, and no one's really too sure what's going on right now with RSP. That we've had no official word from DICE at all, and I do totally appreciate, yes, they have to get this right, but I think they need to keep the community in the loop. They need to have the news disseminating from them, just so that they're able to keep a lid on this, because right now everyone's just really worried. I mean, and you know, no one, we will respect DICE, and I think that, and this is coming from a position of great respect for DICE. You know, I love the product. You know, 15, 16 years of playing this game stands testament to that. But I do feel on this particular topic that it could have been perhaps handled differently in a way that left the community with more information to hand, just so that we don't have this mad scramble for, you know, what is going on. Like, we have no information whatsoever. That for me is the only issue, not like even necessarily the time frame. If they were to come out and say, you know, guys, this is going to be a post-release, 6 months post-release on RSP, then I would be frustrated, but at the same time I would understand. But I think the other thing to recognize as well, with this 2-year cycle that DICE is now introducing for Battlefield release, you know, obviously if they're going to be we're going to be losing possibly, you know, 3 months, maybe even more than 3 months of that first initial gameplay when the game is at its most vibrant. This is gonna, you know, this would be our real opportunity to hammer down and just, you know, make Battlefield esports a thing. For us, I think if we could just get hold of a server that would allow us to lock it down so that we could get 2 teams to get some viable esports down, you know, I think that would really help as a boost to the wider Battlefield esports scene and on the longevity of Battlefield, because at the end of the day, I think there will come a time when they will look at this as a product, and they will look, you know, the shareholders will look at it and they will go, you know, we've done Battlefield for a long time, maybe it's time to try something new. And as great and as much as I love new things, I don't want to see Battlefield end. I want to be able to play this with my grandchildren. Now, I'm not sure whether there's enough wars out there that they could base the game on. So you know, who knows? But definitely, this is something I want to see to have longevity. So, and I think Battlefield esports is definitely a way of doing that. Esports is now $1 billion industry. There's a lot behind it, you know, and it does seem to give games that sort of ongoing revival.
Oh yeah, the I totally agree with everything there. That I would love. Now it's funny that you say that, is because there was a forum that I was typing in. It was on DayZ, and of course DayZ is still in a game preview program, so they don't come out until I think March, I believe. But they were having the same issues as the fact of communication with the community, and the community was leaving their development, was leaving. Well, now I understand it was a beta, but then it was the first time for the Xbox players, even though the PC players maybe played it forever, the Xbox players was getting their first chance to play the game they've been longing to see to play. They've been having to watch streamers for years play it and just drooling like, I wish I could play this. They finally get it, and now they're having a feast on it, but they can't fully ingest everything because the communication was so raw, it was so limited. And so I put a big post on there about and of course I had people try to shoot me down about it, but I kept the professional pressure on, not being um belligerent about it or any of that sort, just keeping it based onto the gameplay and onto their development, and that we need more communication. We need more um let us know what's going down. That way we can understand and hold on to what's to come for us players. If we have nothing to hold on to, then we're just going to fall to another game. And I explained this to Bohemian and DayZ, and then it's just, I'm not saying that maybe I sparked something, but it was just ironic that the next update patch that came out, it had so much detail that it was like, oh my gosh, like, is this like the whole other half of the game? There was so much detail to it. And when they did that, so much of the player base came back. So much of the player base were psyched to play their game just for the fact that they put detail in their patch notes or put detail into what's to come out, what they're working on, things like that. And I encourage possibly DICE to do things such as this as well. I know they do the patch notes, but possibly something to give us a little appetizer of what's to come, to show us, hey, have hope. You know, we're here. You know, that way it puts to rest any of the rumors. It puts to rest the conspiracy theories that you had stated before, and it helps the community be able to have something to hold on to and hang on to things where we can continue to play for the future of Battlefield esports, for Battlefield community in general, and it just keeps that momentum going. It just with the simple communication of, "Hey guys, you know what? This is what we're planning on doing with RSP, and this is the future of it. And really hope you guys will enjoy it," and things like that. Now, I understand that a lot of gaming developers love the big reveal, and they want people like E3. They love people to get off their feet and just like, "Oh my god, I love this!" But it's just, how can you love it as much if you don't know anything about it? If it's like that thing that's never spoken of and you can't really grasp the enjoyment, or I wouldn't say the enjoyment, the enthusiasm, the hype for that RSP, if it's never really discussed. Maybe that's something they're trying to prevent, is overly, what if, they're really, it's like Sheep had stated, we would rather have them work on it to the fullest to get it fully developed and ready to go, and for us to love it, than for them to hype it up and then suddenly they push it out too soon, and then it gets very let down. And I think that that portion is what kills games the most. Maybe not the communication part, but then when you hype it up and then it gets dropped and then people are like, "What is this?" That I feel kills the game the most. So I believe maybe they're also putting in this tedious work of, we need to time this just right. If it's not ready yet, it's not ready yet. That's wonderful. The only thing I believe the community is asking is, tell us if it's not ready yet. Tell us this is what we're working on, or just give us a little something that we can grab a hold of.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know one thing that does go on behind the scenes is, and it isn't generally something that's seen. You've got the Battlefield forums as one option for feeding things back, but there's also the EA Game Changer program and the Battlefield Game Changer program. So DICE, the devs, do reach out through the community managers, mainly through Dan and Jeff, to the community to find out feedback for the game. So they are getting feedback from the very much the core of the community, those members who are playing the game day in, day out, sort of like our personalities on the game, and they are taking feedback from their wider communities. And this is all sort of being sort of collected and represented back into the game post patch. Just one, obviously RSP is another element to the game altogether, and it'll be interesting just to sort of see where they go with it. But I know they are again taking feedback from the community, myself included, and a few other members of the Hardcore League staff, on how sort of various features sort of will break down. So and that is represented. So in that respect, the community is listened to. They are just playing their cards very, very close to their chest. They've possibly got a couple of aces up there, so that's hopefully what's going on here. And like Mims says, they're probably going to be going for that big release. But just tying things back in here, because obviously Penn's been with Hardcore League since the beginning, and in recent years have actually become the main sponsors of Hardcore League and have made it all possible, and for our growth and for us to develop as a community. So we do have a lot of love and respect for the network. when I refer to you like that, it almost sounds like you're some government agency, that's like not officially recognized, the network. But what I'd be liking to know right now is, obviously you guys, there's a lot of preparation that goes into these games, a lot of planning, the team structuring, how individuals break down into squads, how those individuals play together. Do you guys have any sort of pre-game rituals, anything that you like to do in the immediate sort of 15-minute run up to a match? Just and have you guys got anything that you sort of kick down, or how do you guys roll?
I mean, I don't have anything personally. I mean, after a game, win or lose, I normally smoke a cigar, but pregame, mainly it's just people trying to find out who's on because I don't know about other teams, but we run off of a first come first serve. So a prospect in that joined last week, if they sign up before a 2-year veteran, they get a spot. Because I mean, at the end of the day, we're about the players being able to play. We don't have a dream team that gets uh, the spot over someone else. Everyone gets a chance to earn their spot, and that helps us with people not getting annoyed with us with not being able to play in a match because I joined and the dream team's already signed up, so there's no point in signing up. We have everyone gets an equal opportunity.
Yeah, that sounds like a really good way of approaching it, and I certainly remember from my days as a team leader, that was one of the issues, was getting the new guys involved, getting the rookies, they're sort of getting their nuts busted, as it were, trial of fire, because at the end of the day, you need to keep it fresh for the guys that are coming in new. They are looking to the established teams, they are looking to the established esports players to sort of support them in this endeavor. No one wants to be put on the back burner. We see teams like Strike Team 6 who, Strike Team 6 has made some incredible strides recently. They are just coming out really strong during matches. But in the past they've played a lot of new players. They've almost done it too much to the other extent, to the point where they've not had enough experienced players on the field. But as I say, we're seeing a lot more consistency on the Strike Team 6 player base at the moment. So, I think you're right. You've got to really introduce those guys. It's got to be gentle, but you've got to get them, boots on the ground. You've got to see how they work out and how they're going to complement the team.
Oh yeah, the whole with everything that's coming up with Battlefield and everything in general, I have high hopes. I have high hopes for everything that's coming up. Especially with what we're doing with the league and everything. With just a lot of the teams are very stoked, they're very hyped, they're ready for competition. They're ready. I'm ready for competition. I believe Sheep's ready for competition. I believe you're ready for competition.
Oh yeah.
Everybody's ready for competition. Like I was, so here now. I'm just gonna say this because this is kind of something we've been doing lately. Maybe we can get the teams to start doing this as well. Is that we've been doing what's called comp stacks, and we've been getting on to public servers and and we've been patient about it and getting in on one side and then possibly another team getting on the other. And that's what we've been doing for skirmishes and stuff so far. So you can't say it can't be done that it can't be done per se, but it is a headache at times, but it is a lot of fun though. It is a lot of fun.
It certainly can be done. It certainly can be done. It's definitely we're going having to go the long way about it, but and we have had some great pre-RSP release events so far. We managed to do grand operations, grand competition, and that was just fantastic. That worked out really well. We had so many great players. We had comp for a day, again, which was a massive success. We brought a lot of new players into the various teams, introduced new people to the Battlefield esports arena. It was all right. It was great to see, and I think I look forward to seeing over the coming months what we're going to be seeing from the teams post RSP, because these guys well and truly have had the opportunity to get used to the maps, the weapons, the kit loadouts. Every team now should be developing its strategies, its tactics, because realistically, the teams that go in with the planning, the preparation, are going to be the teams that take the win. So it's really going to take that level of organization to get ahead there. And we've got some great teams, and what we have to really respect now is these teams are coming up to sort of 3-4 years experience, it's we're gonna see some pretty awesome battles, I think, and I look forward, because as well we've also got the Phoenix Elite Aerial League, and those guys have brought us some absolutely incredible aerial combat competitive matches and tournaments over the last few months. And of course, guys, if you want to catch up with that, you can head over to the Hardcore League YouTube and take a look at some of our finer moments. So that has to be said as that was definitely I think a good point you made there before, Mims. So just looking to the future, and the sort of the bigger future now, how do you envisage sort of if Battlefield Esports were to say become a success and it were to take a momentum in a great way, sort of what would you like to see from the wider community and from Battlefield Esports?
You talking to me or Sheep?
Oh, sorry, I was talking to
I was
Sheep.
a little confused there.
Sorry, my bad. I was talking to Sheep. I was being attacked by my cat at the time in the interest of full disclosure and transparency. See, Dice, that is how you do transparency. Just a little gentle joshing there for Dice. But yeah, sorry, I was talking to Sheep. Sheep, take it away.
I mean, I'd love to see like Battlefield in like Madison Square Garden, places like that, big arenas, stuff like that. But also not to fall away from its roots with just purely online competitions. I mean, it's always got to have a good balance of that, because I mean that's what Battlefield is. I mean, it'd be massive to have 32 on 32 in like an arena, because that would be insane to see how that would be done instead of these little small 5v5 boxes. 32 people in one box playing against another equally sized box. That would just be the best.
Yeah, no, absolutely. We've seen mass sort of MMO esports. It's been done before. I think Dota was pretty much, you were looking at a good few hundred monitors in a room, if I'm not mistaken. I've seen some of those Dota esports LAN tournaments, and they're just massive. So I think
Hitman, they actually had a Battlefield 4 thing. I think Major Nelson, and it was it was USA versus EU Battlefield 4. It was when Battlefield 4 first came out, and it was Major Nelson versus, I can't remember the other guy's name, but it was US versus EU, and it was
that would be
24
incredible.
versus 24, and it's not like they couldn't do it in a stadium. I mean, they did it there, so that's the thing that is kind of ironic to me, and it's how a lot of people would state like, there's no way Battlefield Esports. We got that saying for years, and even though I'm like, they did it, they already did it before with Battlefield 4 in just a big event. They didn't do it as an esport thing, but they did it as a promotional event for the Battlefield franchise. And I'm like, well, if they can do it there, then I believe they can straight up go to Madison Square Garden and do things like that.
Sure, no, absolutely. And one thing that the esports scene hasn't seen before is first-person shooter mass-scale strategy. Like, you really do use elements of real war tactics and real war strategies that are utilized, and you don't get that with Call of Duty, you don't get that with Halo, and you don't get that with the smaller scale things. We're looking at it now on screen. 32 players versus 32 players is absolutely massive, and then you introduce vehicles into that, you introduce these massive wide scale maps, or also sometimes smaller maps, and it just really changes things up. And it has to be said, that is an absolutely amazing front line developing on the cast at the moment. I think this is Grand Competition, the Xbox match that I shoutcasted a couple of weeks ago, and it has to be said, it looks pretty goddamn gritty right about now. But sorry, I'm getting a little bit distracted there by what's going on with the cast. But no, some excellent points made all around, really. So yeah, I mean, do you have any other teams out there that you like to practice with, or does Phoenix Elite try and keep itself to itself, or do you have sort of communities that you're on good terms with and that you like to sort of pub up with?
I mean, there's definitely teams that we like more than others, that we get along better with. But for the most part, when it comes to practice, at least when I'm running it, I like to try to keep my guys secluded so we can work on comms. And I mean, recently we've had a massive influx of new players. We went from, we were stuck at like 30 or so active for a very long time. And I think now we just hit close to 50 or so active with 75 plus total. So it
Hmm.
it's all now about getting the new guys in, getting them kind of caught up. But for the most part, I think mainly we like playing with or against like T-Dow, and definitely love playing against SWAT.
Yeah, no, I mean, two fantastic teams, the Division of Warriors and Strike Team 6. Yeah, good teams all around, got great leadership and very experienced as well. But yeah, no, that's it. Oh, God damn, this cat, it just wants to sit on my legs so bad. And every time he does, he just like manages to sit in a very, well, he just jumps onto a very tender area and makes me jump. So, well, sorry about that. All right. But yeah, so we've seen some fantastic gameplay coming out of the various teams recently. Definitely at the end of Battlefield 1. That was an amazing last weekend that we had. We had no less than 7 events. I think, and I ended up shoutcasting, I think, 4 or 5 of them, and it culminated to what turned out to be an absolutely brilliant weekend. I think we had the Phoenix Elite Aerial Leagues Season 2 playoffs, and what else did we have? We had some pretty big events anyway. We had some pretty big 32 versus 32 matches, and it was just really good fun, to be fair. So that was a good sort of way to kick off Battlefield 1 and move into Battlefield 5. But yeah, all right, guys, that's pretty much everything for this evening, and it's been an absolutely wonderful podcast again. Our penultimate episode here. This is our pilot season. We've got our next episode on the 18th of January, and that's going to be with Apex and Reese's Pieces and Collard Greens. So really looking forward to seeing what those guys are going to be bringing to the table. Obviously, we really want to thank Phoenix Elite Network and particularly Sheep for putting himself forward and coming in and having a chat with us about his background and his experiences with the Battlefield esports scene. Of course, guys, if you're in there watching and you want to get involved, you want to be listened to, then please approach myself, Dum DXMimzy, Silent, Booyah, any of the or Hubert as well, any of the podcast staff. We have a number of staff that you can get in touch with and just ask. We've got a various number of ways we can do this. We can do offline interviews, online interviews, and we are looking at getting season 2 booked up. So it will be great to get some teams involved. In the meantime, guys, thank you so much for stopping by. I've been KLW HitmanPike. You've been listening to DXMimzy and Pen Sheep this evening. Hope you take away a few points of what you listen to. If you've enjoyed it, guys, don't forget to hit that share, hit that follow, hit that subscribe. In the meantime, thank you and good night.